Hi everybody, I'm here with John and Kyla and a lot of feathers, and we're really excited to introduce you to a technique and some tools. The reason it's so exciting to me is because it's kind of, well, it's a culmination of a lot of effort and time, and there's collaboration, and it also, we're at the tip of the iceberg with this. So as we explore these new techniques, I'm sure everyone is going to find a lot of potential in this. It's so simple. And the other thing I love about it is that it's in the spirit of sharing, and two needle felting friends, Sabine and Delisa, approached Sarafina with their idea and the technique that they were using and wanted to share it with me, and then for me to share it with you. So I think that's just super cool, and in the spirit of everything that we're doing here. So I'm going to show you feathers examples because I've been playing with it. I have some not so great ones, some experimental things. And then I'm going to show you all of the tools, some of which we carry here at Sarafina, and some of which are linked on our Sarah's Goods and Faves page on our website. Most of the links, I think, are to Amazon, right? So some additional things that we find really helpful and useful, but we're not going to carry here, at least at this point. I have also examples of things made using the technique, and we are, like I said, just getting so excited about all of the potential. So I will discuss what's in front of me here a little bit before we jump in to the actual demonstration. Sabine and Delisa sent me several feathers. This, I think, is the tiniest one. It is smaller than my pinky finger. So the exacting nature of this, is exciting especially for those of you who love tiny detail. And then I loved these were made with silver sable. So I love the way those turned out.
That was the fur, correct?
Silver sable fur. I've been using mainly fur. I think Sabine and Delisa have been carding silk and merino. I will discuss all of the products that are sort of at your disposal with this technique. It is really pretty limitless. So, but I like fur. It already has the silk, the element of shine mixed in, plus some natural colors and stuff. But sometimes you need something bright, so you're going to mix merino and silk. These are two examples of black feather. This one we were experimenting with a spine. I have a few different spine experiments. That is the caveat of this technique. There is no fusible fabric. There's no glue. It is just wire and fiber, which I love. It makes it very easy to construct with, and it makes it it lends itself to incorporating into sculpture. But it does leave wire in the center, and so we're still playing with adding a spine. The two roosters here I'll show you in more detail. We didn't bother. Honestly, you don't necessarily really even notice. So there's still some things to experiment with. This little pink one was one of my earlier ones. It's a little chunky, but I put a little mohair thread spine on it. So that's kind of cool because it has a tiny bit of texture and looks pretty natural on there. This one I was, trying to be less interpretive and a little more controlled, and to see what I could do with stripes. So I made a blue jay or blue jay feather, and I'm pretty happy with it. And this was just a first try. Like, I can keep refining my own skills with this. This was a little black feather I made that was super cute. But I was again playing with adding a spine, and A lot of birds have incredible amount of detail. So much so, this is all fiber, fiber creating the different colors and stripes. This was Posca markers, which I will explain to you later and are linked on the Goods and Faves page. These, so those are all the little ones. These were really, really fun for me. When I first started making them, I was using way too much fiber, and so these are just kind of big and thick. And I actually used a different technique with these that involves tying rather than fiber twisting, which I'm going to show you the technique here shortly. But it was a very enjoyable process, and I will elaborate on this farther down the line. Today, we're going to concentrate on the wire technique. So what's cool about it too is it gives a little bit of a spine naturally because of the way it's put together. So these are huge, but they're a lot of fun. I don't know what I'm doing with them. I just think they're really cool. Okay. I did play with peacock feathers. This was again a first try. I know I can get this more refined. I can get the colors better. I can grow on this. And this was another one, a really big one. Okay, I'm just gonna move the feathers out of the way and show you guys, oh, I didn't show you these. This is using the same exact process and fiber. Instead of just feathers, this is plumage. This is it can be a lot of different things. So here's something that, could be indicative of something floral even. So this isn't a finished thing. I was just getting ready for the video today. I tried stripes, and again, this was a first try, and I think I can improve on this. So if you were doing a larger piece, maybe a raccoon or, anything that had rings, this can work. And this is so well integrated, and can really easily be added to a sculpture because it's already wired. So now I'm going to go through some of the things, other examples that I have here, and then I'm going to show you tools, and then I'm going to show you the technique. We wanted to get this out as soon as possible, but in about a month or so, Delisa and Sabine are going to come and we're going to do a live video, and that'll be great because they are doing things that I haven't and have actually evolved even a little further in their techniques. So for example, Delisa made this butterfly. And to be honest, I'm not exactly sure how she did it, but the feather technique allowed her to get a wired and thin wing. I do see that there's a little painting detail on here. So she'll tell us more about that. I had fun playing with this hummingbird, and I used the feather technique to create the entire wing. So this could be a feather, but instead I made it into a wing. And I put a little power text painted on there to just make sure it maintains its stiffness and shape. So that was a really cool and exciting use for this. They could be thinner and more refined, especially because that I feel like is kind of the trick to this. You'll see when you see the technique. This was fun, developing a course for dogs, and this feathered sickle tail on this borzoi is made using the feather technique. This is Delisa's rooster. So much work into this. I don't even know how she did a lot of this, so I'm looking forward to having her here with us and explaining her techniques. Tons of individual feathers. I do believe she has used a tiny bit of thinned power text on the edges, which really gives that shaped definitive look that feathers have. It kind of takes away the fluffiness of the fiber and gives it a real strong edge, which is really cool. There's several different techniques involved in her rooster. This is the rooster that I made. I also used several different techniques, and this was really my first thing using the feather technique. So I'm pretty happy with it. I know some things that I would do differently. There's wired feathers on the wing, and then all of these are made individually. So it's got so much potential, and it's a little bit time consuming, but not so much that you won't be excited to do it and to incorporate this into your sculptures. And I really feel that once we all start going with this, we're going to find tons of ways to use it. Delisa mentioned eyelashes. I was working on an owl, and I was thinking about sort of the concentric circles of feathers that come off of their face and how you could just make that using this technique. I didn't get to it, but maybe I will before we go live. We have a bunch of new tools to go along with our feather technique, some of which are for sale through SarafinaFiberArt.com, and some of which we have linked through our Goods and Faves page on our website. We're going to use these pliers. They are a smaller tip than the pliers that we have been carrying and use for our armature, and they don't have a cutter. So there's no chance of trying to hold your feather and accidentally cutting it. And then we've added some little cutting pliers that are very precise and easy to use for trimming your wire. We're going to carry, this is, for now, like I said, we're just getting oriented and started with all of this. We have a 30 and a 24 gauge silver tarnish resistant coated copper wire. And these are what I have been using. I'm really happy with it. I've used the cloth covered floral wire that we carry I've used everything, I think. I don't think I've used 22 because it's kind of big, but 26 and 32, dark or light. So there's a lot of different wires that can be utilized in this technique. And it's a little bit about matching it with the strength that it needs and the size of the project. Obviously, the 30 gauge is great for when you're going very small. The 24, I can show you some examples of what I used, the 24. I'll be using this today when I do my demonstration. We're really happy to have these stainless steel rulers that I've been using in workshops for years, but we realized that the quality of it and the weight of it is great in using this technique, which I will show you. Okay, this is a tool that is an original design. Delisa and Sabine helped this evolve. Well, they created this idea and worked through it and then brought it to us. And we're having it made by the same company that makes the Pindle perch. This is the Plume Palette, is what we're calling it, and I'm going to show you how to put it together. This is an aid in this technique, and again, I think we're going to find other ways to use it it's like a staging area for the fiber that you're pulling and using, especially for the feathers and all the plumage. But I could see tiny toes, like anything that you need to get a small amount. So this is made by 4 Dog Designs. And shoot, I forget the name of this wood, but I went with it because it's heavier and we want this to stay put while we're working. This is a static resistant comb, and that goes in the biggest slot. And then this is just some cord that's going to hold your comb in place. And you're going to need something a pencil, or this is a knitting needle, something pointy, and you just kind of have to get her going, press it down around the comb. Takes, for some reason, it just like takes a second to get it get it to want to go in there, but then once it does, you can really tuck it in. And now this doesn't move. So that's how you put this together. I'm going to show you a couple more tools, and then we're going to talk about how to use this. In addition to these new products at Sarafina, there's a few really helpful products that we like that we have linked on Sara's Goods and Faves on sarafinafiberart.com. One is this feather book. It has been very educational. It's inspirational as well. You can see the many, many textures and colors and sizes and types of feathers. So we highly recommend this book. This technique involves ironing or using a press, and Delisa and Sabine really like this brand of fabric stiffener. So that is linked as well. We have two different possibilities of scissors linked. This set is a little more expensive. This is a hair cutting set, but I really like having the precision of the hair cutting scissors, and you will definitely want scissors that have teeth so that you can trim without, these are thinning, so it just takes some of the fiber out. And we do have another version of these linked as well that Delisa really likes because it takes the right amount out. It doesn't take too much. A rat tail comb is great, but not totally necessary. I should have mentioned the clover claw that we carry has a little comb on it, and that's really good too. So as we get into this, you'll see when these different things are used and understand why we're making these recommendations. Power text, I have not power text most of my feathers, but Delisa did, and like I said, it has a really cool effect on the edge of the feather. And I've been playing with the Posca markers. I linked 2 different sets that I thought had the most useful colors, and that was that black feather that I showed you that had the dots. So if you do want to, particularly I think I would use these if I really did need to draw on a spine. I think that's the way that I would go. So far I have avoided outside color on my needle felted sculpture, but I feel like the feathers, they're a new territory and they warrant a little bit of a different approach. I also played with acrylic inks, didn't have as much control and success with that, but we will definitely keep updating you as we figure out more possibilities and potential. I'm going to show you some fiber and the techniques involved. So I've got a few pre-blended colors. I'm going to make a black feather. I think it'll show up well, and also many people want to make roosters, and so this will be really helpful. I'm just going to grab some of these colors. Like I said, I have been using our fur line. I'm not going to hand card in this tutorial because we do that elsewhere. You can restack in your hand. You can hand card. You can use fiber just by laying it onto your Plume palette and letting it blend there. These are carded with the hand carders. I started with panther fur. In this one, I added tartan mulberry silk. In this one, I added Toreg, so that's a blue. I'm not sure if that's showing up okay. This one I really like this one, tartan and fur tussa. So it has 2 greens in it. And I could go a little heavier on that. And then this, sometimes chickens and roosters have this like more dull brown black. This was really interesting. There's some panther in here, but I used chocolate. Coffee is the really dark one. Yeah, I used chocolate. And then this purple is just, what's this called, John? What did we say this was? Onion tussa. This will really knock color back because it's so muted. So that was kind of fun to play with. But I mean, I'm going to go crazy mixing colors. Okay. So to actually make a feather, I'm sorry, I'm going to grab a few more tools over here. I'm going to use the 24 gauge wire. I'm just trying to decide if I should like put a stripe in so they can see how a stripe works. But you want to take a very thin amount of your fiber and put it into the teeth of the comb. And I'm going to switch to, well, let's do this one at the top. I'm just trying to get it even. And then I'll switch to the blue, and then we'll do the green, and we'll see if we can see the differences as we move down the feather. The way that I did, well, I'll explain the stripes in a minute. Now, if your fiber is really long, you can pull it more to one side. You can cut it in half before you put it in the tool, or you can use the tool and your scissors, and then I'm going to get two feathers out of the same fiber because I can lay this in again. It really takes so much less. Like I kept thinking less, Sarah, less, and still like, still my feathers have felt a little bulky. The ruler is perfect to put on one side of your fiber. See that the way that popped up, and it'll hold it while I pluck the tiny bit that I need. Now this is where it gets a little bit tedious. And hopefully this shows up well. Let's see. This is my longest one. I cut this. It does not matter what length you cut these. You're going to cut this to the length of the feather that you need. But I'm not going to go too big because I want to get through this. And I'm going to show how I load it, and then I'll just move through the feather. So you want to find the center and just let the wire's going to naturally cross like that, and that's okay. You're going to take your first little bit and put it through the loop, pinch it back towards the tip. Now to get started, I find the best way to get started, actually just to help me, I'm going to take a little bit more. I'm going to use a tiny bit more just because we're at the tip here. So try to get that all going in one direction. I think the best way to get started is just to push this down until that loop is as closed as possible. Then grab with your little pliers and twist that closed. And that is what you are going to do. Just try and straighten these a little bit. With each little section, you're going to take a small amount, you're going to put it into the center. I find that if I pull it back like that, hold it with my pliers, then I can do a twist in the wire. Center it in that little valley, hold it and twist it. What's cool, another invention, is a twisting tool. We do not have that yet. Sabine has been developing that and could help make this process a little more, I don't know, not necessarily faster, just a little more
Sort of gives
sure
you,
and ease.
gives you an
Yeah.
extra set of
Yeah.
hands, kind of. It feels awkward at first, but once you get through one or two, then it all feels more comfortable.
Yeah, I think I've gotten a bit of a method. I like to pull it like this, hold it with the pliers, and then give it my twist. And all I have to do is put the pliers down. Like I don't have to put the whole thing down. And so the same hand, now keep in mind I'm left-handed. The same hand can put the pliers down and grab the fiber. And I used a slightly bigger wire because it just won't take quite as long as if I went with the 30 gauge. I'll just get somewhere a little bit faster. And the bigger the feather you're making, the more fiber you want in these little tufts. And if you're making plumage, like the tails that I showed you, you can put a lot more. Instead of flattening the fiber out and ironing it and making this flat 2D thing, you want the fiber to go all of the way around. So that technique involves a little bit more fiber in each twist. So you can see how thin this is versus this. And that's just bigger wire, more fiber. Oh my gosh, the wire is not even 2 inches, but it looks longer because of all of the fluff. And then I gave it an extra twist at the end just to make sure everything's tight and secure. Then you're going to want to part your fiber to each side when you're making a feather. And I'm just with my fingers going to see, there's going to be a little bit of a natural part. But you want to take some time and make sure you have equal fiber going to each side. Now, even though we already cut this in half, you can see
it's huge.
It's huge, yeah. So you get a lot out of your fiber. I see a few places that I need to pull it from one side to the other. Little uneven part going on here. And sometimes one side will look better than the other, and so you start kind of concentrating on that side. So this is fun. I mean, just like this, it's fun. And this is the way I started the peacock feathers, with an uncut, spiky version like this. But I'm not sure if you guys can see, it's showing the black, the blue, and the green are showing up there. So if you wanted to make a striped feather, you would alternate your tufts. Not one every other, it'll end up looking blended. You want to do about 2 or 3 and then switch, and then do 3 twists and then switch, which is how I did the blue jay feather. And you could take your time and really groom it, really try to get the stripes aligned. So this is where our scissors come in, and an iron. Ironing is really an important part of this process. So I'm just going to start with a generic feather shape. And then I'll decide if I want to make one side closer to the spine or farther. Now at this point, I can tell I have a little bit too much thickness, and I can use my thinning shears and just take a little bit of that bulk out. It also gives a really nice natural edge to the feather. And this is a lot of fun to play with.
You're cutting along the edge there, not
Just
all the way?
Not all the way in. I don't need to, because these, as Delisa pointed out, do take out a little bit more than the other type that we shared.
42 tooth takes out less.
Now I am going to, our iron is in a different place, so I'm going to take this and give it a press, and I'll be right back. So this is one press, and it really flattened it out. And now I'm going to refine my feather a little bit more, get rid of these flyaways.
You did spray that with a light coat of Best Press?
I did, yes. You know what else we should link is that Aquanet. That old school Aquanet is good too. I use that sometimes. So I'm just pulling things around. Just found a piece that wasn't in the right place. And I'm going to hit this edge with this one more time. You're going to, like, your inner little groomer is going to come out, your little hairstylist, and you're going to have a lot of fun making your feathers look exactly the way you want them to. Another thing to think about is, do you want the fiber, running at an angle up? Okay, I'm going to press this again. So just go back and forth a little bit. Ideally I would make several feathers at once and take them all over, do this step together. So here we are after another press. This was with a little bit of Aquanet. And yeah, you could just keep fussing, and I'll show you what happens with the marker. It is good to use something that stiffens this, because then the marker will glide on top of it a little bit more rather than snagging all of the fiber. But if we wanted to have a spine, you could just draw it on. But like I said, I've been using them without, and pretty happy with it. And I'll experiment with this more. Perhaps what happens, if I press it again with the marker on there, or is there anything to really help soften and define this spine process? So you have nice wires here. Your feather has a lot of support. Be careful when you iron, the wires can get hot. So just be careful picking it up. And then you're ready to construct. You can bend these. You could iron it with a little bit of a fold, just depending on what kind of look of feather you're trying to make. For the hummingbird wing, I took something like this. I left one side longer, and I folded this over and ironed it folded over. That's how I would do if I were doing eyelashes or anything where everything needed to be going the same direction. I'm pretty sure that's how Delisa did the butterfly wing, was folded all the fiber over one way and ironed it.
If you were to use the PowerTex, this would be the point that you would use that now.
Yeah,
water
and honestly,
I
I haven't done that. So I think what she did is thin it and then just paint it on the edge, and it just gives you that nice sculpted edge. I love the look of iridescence with the different greens and blues in there. So yeah, sky is the limit with this one. I'm really excited to see what you guys do. And as I mentioned, we're going to be live together. So we're getting this out. Maybe you can even get a little bit under your wings, under your belt. Is there? No. I used the wrong expression. But anyway, and then when we go live, you'll have a little bit of experience and have some questions that come from playing with this, and we can answer those questions. I will get into a little bit of construction detail, but things like the whole rooster, that would ultimately be a course. The dog is going to be a course, but the technique, the ways to use the technique, we can definitely talk about. So thank you for joining us today. I really look forward to seeing where this goes, because I think we have a lot ahead of us on this front. If you are looking to get started either with the plumage or with needle felting in general, you'll want to visit our website, sarafinafiberart.com. I highly recommend signing up for our newsletter, and which you do on the site, and begin to explore what is available there. There are hundreds at this point of tutorials, and a lot of them cover techniques and information that are going to help you go from A to Z with this craft. On Facebook, our page is Sarafina Fiber Art, and we also have a group, Sarafina Felting Fanfare, and the group is great. It's great for asking questions. It's great for getting inspired, for sharing your work. So you can definitely join us there. Our YouTube channel is where most of our videos land, and subscribing is a great idea because you will get notified when we have a new tutorial available for you. Ring the bell on that was on YouTube. I don't have to do it because I am notified. So we look forward to seeing what you guys make and gathering together soon live to learn more.